The 2023 Helping Hands honorees certainly live life to the fullest.
Phil and Mary, people talk about them from the perspective of what they did for health in the community and what Mary may have done from a board perspective in the community. I will tell you the most important parts of my relationships with Phil and Mary has been sitting across from them at a dinner table over coffee or wine and really getting an understanding of how they have been such a strong family.
Whether it's hiking the Grand Canyon, having a picnic on a cliff, they're open for anything.
Growing up with Phil and Mary was really joyful, and my parents were always around and always there to support us.
I didn't have parents that sat on the couch all the time.
And then we'd always do fun family trips. My parents made an effort to bring us along wherever they would go.
Phil the beekeeper, Phil the Iron Man, Phil the DJ.
I did my last Ironman when I turned 65. Then it became more of doing longer stage races or race up 14,000-foot mountains in Colorado.
We started hiking and found out we really loved it. And our kids got interested in it. They're very athletic.
But let's not forget, in order to do some of those crazy things, you've got to have the tremendous support of your family. And they all support him. And my hat's off to Mary, who is the Iron Woman. They'll send me pictures from the top of a mountain, and I'm just like, what are you guys doing? It's just unbelievable.
One time I was in high school, and my dad and I decided we wanted to do a father-daughter camping trip in Estes Park in Colorado. Well, we get up the next morning, and all of a sudden I remember him grabbing my backpack and just saying, "Run." And so I take off running, and I just hear all this noise behind me, like slashing noises. And I briefly turned around and saw 3 bears slashing through our tent and had decided to get into our tent. So we decided that we were going to carry on with our hike, so we hiked the rest of the day and then made it to a ranger station. We actually hitchhiked to a ranger station.
I remember traveling the world at a really young age. We went to Japan and we've actually visited a primary school there, and I remember going to Germany, Italy, all of these wonderful places around the world because my parents really prioritized those kinds of cultural experiences and history. They really believed that a well-rounded education is what made us kind, empathetic human beings who knew how to give back to the world.
Every night they were doing something. They were busy with different committees or volunteering or doing something. I sit on boards and I sit on committees, and I think that kind of came to me almost subconsciously even. I didn't think about it, it just kind of happened. It was just sort of like a reflex of what I saw growing up.
As Mary and Phil have lived a life of commitment, hospice care represents a commitment to life. From humble beginnings in 1980, caring for just 27 patients, Center for Hospice Care has grown to become the region's largest hospice provider and has now served more than 44,000 patients and their families across north-central Indiana, wherever it is they call home. With 1 in 4 Americans dying today having served in the armed forces, Center for Hospice Care integrates veteran-specific content into staff and volunteer training as a proud partner of the We Honor Veterans program, a collaboration between the Department of Veteran Affairs and the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization. For Pearl Harbor survivor Jimmy DeWitt, the Center for Hospice Care staff and volunteers both gave and received.
Jim was a delightful man to talk with.
He was blind, actually, so he couldn't see us coming, but every time that I got to greet him, he would greet me back with a smile.
I told him every time I left his presence that he encouraged me more than I think I encouraged him. Jim mostly told stories about Pearl Harbor and his experiences there.
At the end of your life, you want to share with somebody about your trials and tribulations, your successes. We are a level 5 We Honor Veterans partner, and we like to offer veteran pinnings to our veterans who are on service with us. And so we did that for Jim. We usually have one of our volunteers who is a veteran themselves come and basically just kind of celebrate and honor his service to our country.
I won't make little of Phil being CEO, you know, that it's current and it's wonderful, really. Things are on a good road. The art program we have in grief counseling, there's artwork, but I believe there's artwork throughout. That it is a result of the grief counseling. And it's been an incredible difference making for the participants. Phil was instrumental in having that program started. The gift, I believe it came from Memorial Hospital. Personally, they support the art program to make financial gifts. Mary sharing lots of her talent in many ways, and so they're giving their treasure to the art program.
Like so many people, when you have a personal event with hospice that makes you feel that way, then you want to stay involved and make it better.
My wife, Mary, became active in hospice nearly a decade ago. And as she began to get more active and become an officer, I listened and I was at many, many events and also became very interested in the success of this wonderful organization that does so much in the last years of people's lives.
I don't think there's any person in our community that's more entrepreneurial and creative than Phil. The fact that Phil would come on now in a time of need to be the CEO of hospice, that is, in my view, just an extension of what he has done his entire career, and certainly ever since we've known him.
They've both been involved with hospice for a long period of time, and of course the relationship between Memorial and hospital has been critical for a long period of time. But in the meantime, Mary has been on the board, she's been a volunteer there.
You know, the whole community is so lucky to have him, and Mary drug him into it, right? So Mary was board chair, and she's passionate about the Center for Hospice Care, and some of that rubbed off on Phil, and we got both of them.
I think the other thing is they, coming from the healthcare field, understand how important hospice is, not in dealing with death, but elongating life in a positive and appropriate way for people as they move towards the end.
Often stunned when people will tell me, well, they got a call from Mary and she offered to, help them out with this or that. And she just does it very quietly. She lets a lot of attention go to Phil, and he is very justified in getting that attention. So I'm particularly pleased that a hospice is honoring both of them because they're quite the dynamic duo.
We've been blessed by not only Phil's leadership at Memorial, but Mary's support of him and Mary's support of the community and Mary's engagement in the community and their outreach to people. And they've developed great friendships and great service to the community.
It should be no surprise to anyone how much Phil and Mary have done for hospice. Hospice is all about caring and compassion, and Mary and Phil have been so compassionate and caring in the community. So if you can imagine when Phil, who's the chair of the board at the Center for the Homeless, told me, you may just see me a little bit less, I'm going to be the interim CEO at Center for Hospice. I was just like, oh my God. I wasn't surprised at all. But there was a way in which I'm like, wait, aren't you supposed to be retired? But that's just Phil, nonstop. And of course, Mary's serving on the board and chair of the foundation. It just makes sense that this committed couple would devote all of their energies and love and passion to Center for Hospice, which is just the premier nonprofit in the community that gives tremendously to people at their most just challenging and most difficult times in their lives.
Staff, volunteers, and family members all provide helping hands to those in need of end-of-life care. Tonight, we honor two people in our community who exemplify what the Center for Hospice Care does every day. The 2023 Helping Hands Award winners, Mary and Phil Newbold.